Marvel Snap has announced a brand new style of event that impacts the actual gameplay that we all enjoy. It's live right now through February 20th at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's being called Power Couples, and Second Dinner is pitching it as their first ever imbalance patch. Let's talk about what that means and how you can leverage it to get more wins on the Marvel Snap ladder. How this event works is relatively straightforward. There are going to be 10 power couples, characters that are known to be significant others in various bits of Marvel Snap lore, that are going to power each other up when they come into play during your gameplay. Each couple has either +2 power couple or +1, signifying the amount of additional stats their significant other gains when they come into play. This bonus is applied regardless of where their significant other is found, whether it's on the board, in your hand, or in your deck. The +1 or +2 bonus will get applied when one half of the couple hits the board. It is worth noting that this power couple bonus only gets applied the first time one half of the couple comes into play, i.e. you can't beast back half the couple and replay them out to get the power couple bonus again. However, when the bonus gets applied, it will get applied to all copies of the couple that exist anywhere in your hand, deck, or on the board. So if you're copying things with Moon Girl or duplicating them with Cloning Vat, you'll get that stat bonus across all instances of the couple pairing, the singular time that it's triggered. The first power couple deck list I wanted to suggest today is actually one I've played in the past verbatim that I've been meaning to get back around to see if it could hold up, and that is this Moon Girl Clutter double up deck. Essentially, this deck hits from two different axes depending on which one is more beneficial in the game you're currently playing. You can either clutter up your opponent's board with Debris, Green Goblin, and even Titania, thanks to the precise information that Daredevil provides on turn 5, or if those cards aren't coming together for you, or it's just not profitable to be locking out your opponent's board, you can utilize Moon Girl to create multiple copies of She-Hulk, Titania, and the Demon from the Hood to play a flurry of high power, low cost cards in the last turn of the game to just try and overwhelm your opponent with raw stats. It is worth noting that this deck list was something that I worked on before Black Widow and Viper moved to 3 energies, so some adjustments to pull the curve down a touch, such as maybe subbing Carnage for Viper or Black Widow, could be something worth considering. But this is definitely going to be the first place that I start with this event, since She-Hulk with Moon Girl is one of my absolutely favorite combos to execute in Snap. Our next power couples deck list idea is looking to leverage a number of really efficient stats thanks to our power couple of Ghost Spider and Miles Morales offering 9 points of power for just 2 energy under the right conditions. This deck list has a variety of things that benefit from Ghost Spider pulling them around the board, whether it's Human Torch or Vulture or Dagger, and then we have other move enablers such as Doctor Strange and Iron Fist that we pair in tandem with Falcon and Beast to pick all our cards back up and play them back out again to get these effects again and again and again. Obviously, at the top end of the curve, most competitive Marvel Snap decks aren't complete without a dash of technology, and Shang-Chi plays out quite eloquently in this deck because you can spend 4 energy on that last turn of the game to chop down your opponent's big play, while also deploying Miles Morales or other various 1 energy cards like Ghost Spider plus Human Torch to create a big swing of our own while blowing up the best thing that they brought to the table. Our next power couple deck idea features not just one pair, but 2 of our wonderful couples that get bigger when they come into play together. Angela and Sera are no strangers to being played in the same decks. These Kitty Pryde, Hit Monkey Bishop, Vomit Your Hand onto the table decks have been a facet in Marvel Snap for a while. Cards like Mysterio and Kitty not only work in making Angela large, but they're also excellent at powering up Elsa Bloodstone triggers multiple times over the course of the game. These deck lists almost always feature a variety of tech cards to interact with what your opponent has going on, and we have the usual suspects here of Shadow King and Shang-Chi, but we're electing to play Rogue as our ongoing interaction of choice, so that way we can also leverage Gambit as a card that'll discard one of our extra cards at the end of the game to blow something up. While Gambit doesn't have a ton of control in what it's hitting, with this power couples bonus pushing him up to a 3-5, if he's even blowing up something worth 1 or 2 points of power, he's still solidly above rate for a 3 energy play in Marvel Snap. Our first couple of deck lists were a little bit more on the conservative side of things when it comes to experimenting in this new power couples game mode, featuring just one or two in a way that really made sense in more established shells that have worked in the past. That being said, these next two deck lists are for folks like myself that really love to play in the deep end of the pool when it comes to experimenting with new things like this. I would like to showcase our first Love is in the Air draft, featuring not just one, not two, not three, but 5 different power couples that will all get bonuses when you get the pairs of them into play for the next week. Conveniently, a number of these power couples actually have some nice synergies between each other, so this deck list should hopefully be fairly coherent despite trying to get as many of these bonuses as possible. Specifically, Star-Lord and Gamora both work very well with the perfect information that Daredevil can provide on the 5th turn of the game. Invisible Woman on turn 2 curves very eloquently into Gambit on turn 3. We gotta tuck him back behind her so that way he doesn't discard a card until the very end of the game, so we never risk discarding something key. Vision and Scarlet Witch are both just pretty generically good cards that most deck lists will be happy to have. Our non-couple cards to call out in this deck list are Sunspot, who I think is generally necessary to leverage She-Hulk efficiently, as well as Storm, who's a card that can not only work well with Vision moving in there late, or Mr. Fantastic reaching in after the fact, but both Star-Lord and Gamora can line up really well after you play a Storm out, because you know your opponent is likely to play into that flooded location for you as well. My second draft of Love is in the Air here shares a couple of the synergies that the previous one did, as well as developing some others. Specifically, we still have Invisible Woman plus Gambit as a nice 2-3 curve that can clean something up at the end of the game. We're adding in synergy between Rescue as well as Vision here. Rescue demands that we play a card out to her path on turn 5. We can play Vision there and then slide him off to somewhere else on turn 6, so we're not overcommitted to the path where our giant 4-drop was present. Agent 13 and Captain America, I think, honestly have a lot of potential to go in a lot of decks for the next week. There are just a lot of stats for the energy that they're going to cost. Agent 13's going to be a 1-4 that's going to randomly generate utility for you periodically, and Captain America at base value will now be a 3-5 that scales as large as 3-8 if you're able to surround him with other relevant cards. While my content here doesn't typically cater to explicitly tryhards, I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't point out the couple of well-established popular good deck lists that these power couples can slot into pretty reasonably. To start with, the Agent 13 as well as Captain America slot very cleanly into the various Loki shells that exist in the game right now. Agent 13 helps keep your hand full, and these Loki decks have been playing various cards such as Gladiator that typically have a downside, whereas Captain America is largely going to be like a 3-7 or a 3-8 in a lot of these games, which is a lot of stats when it doesn't ever bite you randomly like Gladiator will do periodically. For our final deck list, we have the Scarlet Lockdown. These Storm Lockdown variations, top-ending Goliath, are the most consistent and powerful Vision decks that already existed in Marvel Snap, and they're regularly playing various 2-energy utility cards like Quake at the bottom end of their curve, and Scarlet Witch swats very eloquently into there to not only give you extra location control past Storm, but also make herself and Vision get larger when they both end up coming into play during this Power Couples event. Honestly, I gotta say, I'm pretty excited for this limited time event. This idea of making cards that are otherwise not mainstays in the format potentially be more playable is really exciting to me. I think this direction of trying to create an almost temporary metagame shift seems much better executed in this manner, as opposed to the feature locations that we typically see create only a singular deck that is good. Honestly, I wonder if second dinner is going to be watching the metrics around these cards getting extra points of power periodically in these games and use them as a potential balancing mechanic in the future. I think, for example, there's a number of cards in these power couples that are likely understated at their base cost, and I bet second dinner is likely going to see performance metrics of them as they're periodically larger and use those to potentially dictate OTAs or other changes that we might see in the future. I'd love to know your take on these events in the comments down below, as well as your thoughts on the structure of this video. Was a summary at the beginning, followed by deck lists potentially be trying a good way to do it. Are there other things you'd like to see if we get other temporary metagame events like this in the future that I do a breakdown for? As always, thanks for watching all the way through the end. If you enjoyed my thoughts on this topic, be sure to snap that like button, and hopefully we'll see you back again real soon for some more fantastic Snap content here on YouTube.